Let's say, Pablo, thank you last week for your help. Obviously, you did an awesome job. I'm going to pass the job this week to Lázaro. If you can keep a track of the chats coming in and out. If there's anything that's directly a question to the team, I know you guys are chatting with each other in the background, which is not a problem. But if there is a question directly towards me, like somebody having problems and they want to let me know, please let me know, okay? Lázaro?
I think I have really bad connection right now, so it may be
Okay.
delayed for a little
I
bit.
could pick one more person. Hold on.
Called on me.
Huh? Yeah, I guess I'm calling you, Jordan. Yeah, that sounds good.
I didn't know who you called. Your thing went out.
Jordan, so if you could just keep track of the actual chat room, the little chat area, in case if there's something directly directed towards me, maybe somebody's having problems with the internet or they have a question for me directly during these presentations, to feel free to stop me and let me know what that comment is, as Pablo did last week, okay? Thank you. Thank you very much for your help. All right, so you guys should have now the link for the actual session in Nearpod. Please go into Nearpod now, and as always, if there's a problem with Nearpod, please open up your Word or some other annotation to be able to annotate your notes for the sessions. This afternoon's session is personal responsibility. Oops. So we have an activity that's coming up here. Pretty sure Luisa has something for us. Luisa, you still here?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm leaving 5, Diego.
Okay.
My meeting was a little shorter, so that's why I enjoyed.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. 2, okay, 3. So let's look at this then. Not a problem. All right. Instead of standing in a circle, we're gonna most likely have to just use our listen to scenario and loud. After each scenario, let's go break it up to the following groups. Give me 1 second. Recording here. So in a small city health clinic, the nurse talks to a mother and her child. The nurse learns that the child fell from the roof of his house. He was playing up there even when his mom told him not to. His mother his mother did not realize he was there until he fell. The nurse asked the child if he is well, and he says yes. The nurse did not examine him well. Later, the mother notices that the child has a broken toe because of the fall. The child did not say anything because he was afraid to be punished or further, God only knows, maybe reprimanded or hurt. So who's to blame here? Is it the nurse? What do you guys think? Is the nurse fault here? Number 6. Is it the parent or is it the child?
It's a little bit of everyone's, but as the nurse, that's part of your job. You're supposed to make sure.
I did. I'm the nurse. I just asked. I said, how do you feel? Do you hurt anywhere? And you say no.
I think it's the parents' fault, because from the beginning, should have had control with the kid, and none of this would have happened.
Well, yeah,
I was raised, the way I was raised was, if I was told not to do something and I did it anyway, it was still my fault. So
yeah,
if I was told not to go on the roof with my mom and I still went on the roof, my mom is no longer at fault. That's how it is for me.
well, yeah, I mean, technically,
yeah, same.
how old this kid is.
That's why,
The kid's young enough where he really doesn't have a better thing. I mean,
that's different.
have come up with things that we shouldn't come up with at one point in time. I still say everybody here has a little share of responsibility. If we look at it deep, obviously the child should have been on that roof, right? That was obvious. should have listened, like Jordan said, and Teresa, to his mom, but he didn't. At the same time, we can't be there 100% of the time, but she could have paid a little bit more attention. I mean, the
Yeah.
most likely got a ladder. I mean, this was not a just simple thing.
Jump off a roof as a nurse. Honestly, like, how could she not have been more cautious about this? The kid jumped off of a roof. He's not gonna be 100% fine.
And that's another question to doubt from the, like you said, from the nurse. They just told you this kid fell off a roof, and you're gonna take his word for it. I mean, that's you know, questionable thing there. So we always want to look at everything in an open mindset. Everybody shares their own little part of the puzzle. The moment that we try to always point fingers, though, we won't get to the solution here. Everybody was afraid of either getting pointed at and or afraid of what was going to happen. Ultimately, the one that suffered was the child who had a broken toe and didn't notice. And now you got the mom who's probably really upset, who's got to pay double now. She's got to go back again to the emergency room and pay another fee to get him in, right? Any questions or doubts in this little exercise, personal responsibility so far? I think this was the slides, actually. Sorry about that. So what do we notice about each of these scenarios? Anybody want to give me a little shout out on that one? What did we notice?
Pretty much any party, any of the however many parties were stated in each scenario, any of them could have taken any type of, they all could have taken some fault or some responsibility. It's just kind of very subjective.
And everybody shared or other responsibility to be able to get that resolved. If everybody would have just actually done their part, most likely most of these things could have either been avoided or at least could have been resolved in a more timely manner, especially that toe. Thank you, Jordan. Okay, what would happen if none of the characters took responsibility for these situations? What do you think about that one, Pablo? What would you think would have happened if none of them, absolutely none of them, like the mom wouldn't have taken the child to the hospital, the child wouldn't have said, what do you think would have happened?
Well, first of all, the worst thing that could have happened, again, is just not get a diagnostics for the kid, and also just like negative outcomes from every situation. Like, without consulting, you wouldn't have known that the toe was broken. Without even driving to the hospital, you wouldn't have gotten the results. Without you even caring about the kid, you wouldn't, you know. So it's just like a domino effect.
Definitely. Thank you.
Diego, Julie, and Daniel said they'd be right back.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next part of here was going to be what is personal responsibility? Well, basically, there is 4 major components for this. Our first one here is to be able to take ownership of our part, right? And if we see that somebody's dropping the ball, we don't stay quiet. Working hard, keeping commitments, and not making excuses. Those are key to it. Once again, sometimes it's not be you directly the one, but obviously if you see something, then unfortunately you should be reacting. Has anybody not seen The Wizard of Oz?
I haven't seen it.
Do
You serious?
Do you know the story of The Wizard of Oz?
Not really. I just know there's a girl who gets eaten by a twister.
Yeah, that's basically it. That's in a nutshell. There's a book actually called The Oz Principle. I always challenge my students to read this book if they want to learn in reference to personal responsibility. Actually, the story of the Wizard of Oz is actually a little bit more complex. There's actually a lion, there's a scarecrow, a tin man, and everybody's looking for a way to fix their life. The tin man needs a heart, the lion needs to be brave. Even Dorothy herself is trying to get home. Ultimately, whoever has seen this movie, they're looking for the Wizard of Oz. He's going to fix everything. He is the solution of everything. The Wizard of Oz will fix everything. Can somebody tell me, does he actually, at the end of the story, fix everything for Dorothy and her friends?
No, he doesn't.
He absolutely does not. That is, unfortunately, what everybody is looking for in their life at times is this Mr. Wizard of Oz who's going to be able to just take her all the way home. Dorothy herself, from the beginning, could actually go back home, according to the book and its little fairy tale. If she would click 3 times her heels and say that there was no place like home, she had the power to take herself home. The lion was brave. The wizard never gave him bravery. The Tin Man needed a brain, yet he could walk around and think and never realized that he could and didn't need a brain. The Scarecrow, I think, was needed a heart or something like that. Each individual never was given what they were looking for. They ultimately, at the end, already had it to begin with. They just didn't notice that if they would have just taken ownership, work hard, and actually look within, they can most likely succeed and do what they're looking for. Sometimes it is somebody outside that can help you, but sometimes you yourself are a roadblock. Well, that's my personal story, and it's Wizard of Oz. Okay, where we're going here is Mr. Wizard of Oz, again, is the victim mindset. Every single time she had problems, she was blaming other people. She got frustrated with somebody because she didn't get on the right road and not paying attention to yellow brick road and doing this. While if she would have had the creator mindset and ourselves also have the creator mindset, we would actually get away from this blaming other people for things going wrong and actually making up excuses because Billy or Mikey didn't complete his part. I have the creator. I will take ownership of this and whatever it is that it encompasses. If that person's not willing, I'm not saying to always do somebody else's job. That's not what I'm doing. You will do is obviously do the facts. If you can't go and configure their person's telephone because you don't have that access, you will obviously just do your part, get everything done, document everything, send the email to the telecom person that was supposed to do it, and then always within time escalate to the right persons. We're not going to wait until already that the ticket's been completely overdue. We'll raise our hand and make sure, like we saw, like the nurse or the mom or the son should have raised their hand at one point. The creator mindset obviously always takes ownership for their actions and doesn't see mistakes as failures, if not an opportunity to learn. That's what's awesome about having a creator mindset, is because you're not afraid to fail. You're always willing to take on new tasks, because if you do fail, you could still have that growth mindset and be able to, with repetitiveness, obviously, learn these new skills. And obviously, if we work hard, we'll be able to learn these new tasks and or skills. Okay, DeAndre, can you tell me what are possible consequences of a creator mindset and a victim mindset? What would be, for creator mindset, some of the possible consequences of having if there is good or bad, whatever you think it is, for having a creative mindset?
Um, I imagine like you would get like blamed for stuff. Like you would take like the full blunt, maybe.
Well, yeah, we got to be careful because sometimes, even though we're taking ownership, we don't want to go and always accept blame for something that's not ours and for our not our mistake. We have to be able to take ownership, like you said, of what is ours. So we don't want to go always and just try to say, okay, it's my fault. Let's go and learn from this. No, no, we got to be able to see when and where and not fall into the victim mindset right after that. So what's the consequences you think, Justin, of being stuck in a victim mindset?
You're always blaming others, or you're trying to dodge like the responsibility.
Yeah. So we want to make sure that we understand when we're taking ownership, this means you're going to be responsible for taking control of your own work. You want to make sure you complete the task. And when something goes wrong, you know, okay, I'm sorry, my bad. But saying the excuse at the last minute that you went to Mikey to ask for help and he's not available, it's really not Mikey's fault at that point, is it? Yeah, he can't do it, but you never coordinated on time. That's a different problem. Working hard, as we know, that in itself is self-encompassed, and keeping commitment is obviously doing what you say you're going to do, and showing up for work, for instance, on time, like we're doing here when we're coming out of our breaks, when we're coming into the classroom in the morning or after lunch. We always get here within 5 minutes earlier than the actual session to make sure we're ready to go, and we don't cut up any excuses. We want to make sure that we own up to the mistakes. We're not just saying, "Oh no, you know what?" Obviously, an example of arriving late to work here is kind of bad, but you know, can't say the palmetto was packed. I mean, what were you doing out of the house, trying to get to classroom on time at 9 o'clock in the morning? Where'd you go? Doesn't make sense, right? We want to make sure we're not looking up and create excuses at the last minute for no reason.
Yeah, if I can jump in,
Yes,
I
please.
definitely think that with a victim mindset, we take a second role in the situation, right? We have less opportunities for a solution. We definitely lose control of the situation. So at that point, our avenues and possible potential solutions are nothing but something that deviates from the reality. So never a good place for a person that wants to see a solution out of a situation where we're compromised. So a creative mindset, of course, gives us a lot more room to define the outcome of a specific situation. So taking ownership definitely gives us more avenues to step out of something that might not be in our benefit.
Thank you, Rolando. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to be stopping at this point here. Let's take our 15-minute break, everybody, or afternoon 15-minute break. I will pause the video here. When we come back, we'll continue. You have to be careful when we're taking personal responsibility that we don't wind up in the victim mindset, because part of personal responsibility is to do what? What could actually put you into a very depressed state if we wind up doing this and not understanding the process correctly? That would really quickly, in some cases, throw people into a victim mindset. So one of the things we're doing is taking ownership, right? And admitting fault in certain things. And then some people, unfortunately, take this to another extreme and say, no, it's always my fault. No matter what I do, it's going to be my fault. So we have to be realistic and be careful. I mean, personal responsibility and not making excuses doesn't mean that you're just going to go and always just blame it on you. This is not the exercise of part of taking ownership, is trying to avoid this, and learning from our mistakes is one of the key part of this. So yes, we did obviously admit and take ownership, but what are we doing to avoid this from continuously going into this vicious cycle? Einstein has said if you continue to do something over and over again and expect a different outcome out of it, that in itself is insanity, because you get something different from doing the exact same process or steps. Questions or doubts? All right, so we have a case study here. If Pablo, if you can help me read this slide in Nearpod.
Yeah. Okay, so we have the case study, the employment young
I'm
people.
sorry.
What future awaits them? Current economy.
It's breaking up on my side here. Is it breaking up on everybody else?
A little bit on my side.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
I hear you pretty good, Pablo.
All right, I'm gonna try this again. So we got the employment crisis in young people. What future awaits for them? Young people throughout the world have suffered the effects of the current economic crisis. A prime example took place in 2009 when worldwide youth unemployment rates reached an all-time high. According to the report, Youth Employment, Youth Perspectives on the Pursuit of Decent Work in Changing Times, almost 76 million people between the ages of 15 and 24 were unable to find work. The situation has persisted after years of global economic. 2012 report from the International Labor Organization found that youth employment rates increased in 80% of advanced economies and 66% in developing economies. Today, there are approximately 75 million young people in the world looking for work, meaning that 40% of the total unemployed in the world are young adults. Okay, so given
the, sorry, that was me. I forgot to unmute myself. Thank you very much. So can someone share out, given the current economic situation, what would someone with a creator mindset say?
Someone with a creator mindset would say, like, given the situation and the economy, someone would innovate maybe more resources, so then they can not only innovate, but at the same time create like a flow in the economy by selling those products to the consumer. Eventually comes back to the consumer, and that way it stimulates the economy.
Yeah, I mean, not getting
Whereas
stagnant.
creating masks or like ventilators or whatever.
Exactly. Like for this situation, we will reinvent ourselves, right? Or come up with a new skill or trait, like you just said, or niche that could help. Because with our current economy, for our economy right now, nobody can go out. So maybe finding a job that you can work from home. A lot of the IT fields now or places allow you to work from home and do stuff remote. And learning new things like you guys are doing, right? So there's a lot of people that can't Uber anymore. There's my bus drivers for my children. Unfortunately, they're not getting paid right now. So they've got to reinvent themselves. They can't stay, unfortunately, in this victim mindset. There's got to be a way to get out, like you said, and I've heard of it. People are sewing now and creating masks or coming up with some type of thing that they can be able to obviously get out of this that we're in right now. Very difficult time, especially now that we're in. Thank you. So, you guys have about 15 minutes to go over and read the scenario and role play inside your some of you already started it, but if you can go in there, please, and download your role play. You'll have 8 minutes overall, but I'm giving you 15 to download it, look at it, and the objective is to hopefully go through the activity role play and illustrate the victim mindset from and or the creator mindset. Okay, I'm gonna pause the video for right now. Pause recording. Welcome back, Cotter. Welcome back. No,
You're muted.
am I still muted? Hello, testing 1, 2. Okay.
You're good now.
Thank you. All right. So how do you guys like that in your team, Christina? Overall, the scenarios and stuff like that. You guys enjoyed it? Was it fun? Did you give them a hard time?
Yeah.
Could Daniel, can you give me how did the character in the first scenario demonstrate a victim mindset in your group overall?
I wasn't in a group. I was still stuck in the regular break room. I assigned me to break room 3, and I was supposed to be at 2, and I was kind of just stuck there the whole time, like pondering space.
Okay.
I couldn't contact you some form way.
Okay. No, as for everybody, I'm not sure if you guys are aware. I believe the application allows for you to ask for help. Correct me if I'm wrong there. I think in Mohammed or Ahmad's team, Lazaro, he presses a button and he's able to get me from one room into the other. If you could help out the team, is that somewhere on the bottom? How's that work out, Lazaro? That button that.
So right where you see your reactions, when you're in the break room, on the right side, you have the option to ask the host to be invited, and that sends you a notification saying, "Hey, we need some help."
Okay. So in the same spot where there'll be a reaction where the thumbs up and the little hand waving thing is, next time in case if something happens and I'm not in a room, if you guys can please press that button just to let me know, and I should be able to join with no problem. Sorry about that, Lázaro. I didn't see you
I
there.
used to see that option, but I don't have that option on my my Zoom.
It's only in the break room.
Only in the break
Daniel.
rooms, yeah. It only happens in the break rooms.
Yeah,
Oh,
it looks
okay,
like a question mark right next to reaction.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Well, that alone it's a nice contrast of victim and the creator mindset.
Definitely. So how the character's mindset overall, the victim versus the creator impact the work that they did, Teresa, overall? What do you think? The difference, how did it impact the victim versus the creator? Were they able to, the victim to do their job easier, or a creator? Who do you think?
I think with the victim mindset, it makes it harder to do the job. Because if you keep blaming people, there's going to be no real solution. We all have to admit, because I mean, there's like they've all had a part in it. So everybody, you're not going to solve the problem.
Yeah, thank you. Two stars and a wish. So, Justin, if you could read this one out here. Justin, the slide for us.
Oh, sorry about that. You broke up for a second. 2 stars and a wish. Reread the objective and give yourselves 2 stars and a wish. 2 excels in a relation to any of the objectives. 1 wish, 1 way in which you can continue to improve in relation to any of the objectives.
So below is some examples there.
Star when reflecting.
Mhm.
Star when reflecting on the first objective, I think I provided strong examples of the 4 definitions of personal responsibility: take ownership, work hard, keep communication, and no excuses. Wish, when reflecting on the 3rd objective, I realized that I could have provided a more realistic interpretation of the creator mindset in the role play.
This is to annotate for yourself on the slide there on your notes, this stuff here, the 2 stars and a wish. So please, I'll give you a minute there to write that down. That is an example. Basically, the objectives of what we did for today, including the handout. Sorry about that. Just write yourself a sentence there, 2 stars and a wish. Questions or doubts, more or less what we're looking for. Just like a sentence or 2 in reference to how you're going to reflect to today's objectives. Personal responsibility.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
So, okay, guys, we're not finished 100% here. That was for him. Don't drop yet.
Yeah, no, that was just me recapping on the day.
Yeah, we're pretty much almost off. It's not a problem. So just the last slide here, we should hopefully be able to define personal responsibility, be able to compare and contrast the difference between a victim mindset and a creator mindset, and demonstrate personal responsibility in a role play. Remember, if you haven't turned in your classwork, you have until the end of the day today or tonight to do it, and you have until 9:30 tomorrow morning to be able to turn in your actual homework. If anybody has a question, I will be